Hey everyone, today we're going to be walking through the configuration of standard ACL, extended ACL, and an extended named ACL. I'll explain the differences between all three as I go about the configuration process. But for now, we're going to start off with our standard ACL. And what we want to do with this ACL in particular is deny traffic from the 10.0.2.0 network right here to our R2 router up here. But in the midst of doing that, we also wanted to still be able to connect to any of the client devices over in this network, the 10.0.1.0 network. So we have to apply the ACL correctly on a specific interface in order to make that all work out. So let's get started with that. For our standard ACL stuff, the standard numbers that we use to configure for it are between 1 and 99. And then there's an extended range as well that goes from 1300 to 1999. And that'll specify whether or not it's a standard ACL and a extended ACL. Extended ACLs have different numbers. We'll get to that in a second. But for now, we're going to configure our access list, or our standard ACL. The command to start off with is access list, access-list, and then the number that we specified, so anything between 1 and 99 or 1300 and 1999. Depending on your preferences, we're just going to do 1. So we got access list 1. And then from here, we want to specify the permit or deny statement. So we want to deny the traffic from the source address of 10.0.2.0, and then we use a wildcard mask. So instead of 255.255.255.0 for the /24, we do 0.0.0.255. Wildcard mask is just reversed. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this. We press enter, and for any ACL that you create on a Cisco router, it will always by default have just an explicit deny rule. So at the bottom of this, it'll pretty much deny any traffic from anywhere unless otherwise specified. So we want to permit all the other traffic on there. So we're going to do access list 1 again, but we're going to permit and then any for our source address. And that should allow traffic for the rest of the networks. Okay, so we have our ACL configured. Now we want to go onto the interface in order to make sure that it's going to deny traffic from R2, but also allow traffic to go to these devices over here as well. So in order to do that, we're actually going to have to configure it on this interface. For standard ACLs, because it's only referencing a source address, you want to place it as close to the destination as possible, because otherwise it's not detailed enough to traverse any of the other connections in the network. If you put it here, it's just not going to allow traffic out this interface. It'll just make it even more complicated than it needs to be. So you always want to put it closest to the destination. And so that would be interface f00. So we're going to go to int f0/0. And we're going to apply the ACL to that interface with the IP access -group command. And then you want to specify the ACL number, which was 1. And then you want to specify whether it's inbound or outbound traffic. Since we don't want it going out this way, we're going to specify it as out. And then that should configure that. So our ACL is in place for the standard ACL. Let me just exit out of there. And then let's test it out. So PC1 should still be able to ping R2. So let's give that a shot. R2's address is 10.0.0.2. We'll give it a second here. Should get a reply. And as you can see, it can still communicate with router 2, which is good. It's permitting the traffic from that network. And it shouldn't be able to ping R2 from PC3 over here. So let's give this a shot. And as you can see, the destination host is unreachable. Our ACL is denying that traffic. So we're still good there. Can PC3 ping the 10.0.1.0 network though? Let's see. 10.1.10. And we're getting a reply there. So our ACL is working properly. We have interconnectivity between the client devices, but this device cannot ping or reach R2 in general. Okay. So our next step is that we want to permit telnet access from PC1 to R2, but we want to deny telnet access for any of the other client devices on our network here. So in order to do that, if you want to like specify specific protocols as well as the source and destination addresses, you're going to have to use an extended ACL. So we're going to do that. We're going to go back onto R1 here. And for our extended ACL, the range is between 100 and 199, or the extended range, which is between 2,000 and 2699. So for this one, we're just going to keep it simple. Start off with access list to 100, same layout as the standard ACL. And we're going to first and foremost permit TCP traffic, because that is the protocol that Telnet uses to verify connections. And then we're going to do host, because we're specifying one specific host address and then the address of that host. So we're starting off with the source host, so 10.0.1.10, which is PC1, and then the destination host, so host, and then the IP of router 2. All right, and after that though, we don't want to just permit all TCP traffic in case we want to add additional rules in. So we want to specify the port, which is 23 for Telnet. So in order to equate to a specific port, we use the EQ command right here, and then the port number. You can also type Telnet or www for HTTP, stuff like that, if you don't know the port number. You can actually just send a question mark right here, and it should tell you different ones it accepts, as you can see, www, HTTP, etc. But we want 23 or just Telnet in general. Let's just type Telnet for the sake of the example. Okay, so we got that configured. There's still a few more rules to configure, so we're going to do the same thing, access list. And this is what I don't like about extended ACLs. We'll get to the extended name ACL, where you can just simply type in the rules without actually having to do the whole access list command or anything like that. You can also specify their priority in the command, which is sweet. But we're doing this one right now. So the next thing we want to do is deny traffic, the rest of the TCP traffic, from the 10.0.1.0 network. We're going to use the wildcard mask again. And then the host of 10.0.0.2. And then equal telnet. Alright, so we're denying the rest of the traffic from that network. And then we're going to do the same thing here for the 10.0.2.0 network. Alright. So that's all in place. And then we can't forget about that implicit deny rule. So we need to create one more rule that's going to permit the rest of that traffic. So we're going to do permit and then any for the source and any for the destination. Permit. Oh, I forgot. There we go. IP. So that'll cover TCP and UDP protocols using the IP command there. And then any for the source, any for the destination. And we have an extended ACL configured. Now we want to apply it to our interfaces. So for extended ACLs, unlike the standard ACL, you want to place these as close to the source address in contrast to as far away or as close to the destination in the standard ACL. So the closest to the source addresses are these two interfaces right here. So we're going to apply that using the int range command. So F10 and then F01. And then we're going to do the same thing, IP access group, in order to apply the ACL and the ACL number. And then this is all coming inbound. I'm going to block the inbound traffic, so we're going to do in. And that should be configured. So let's exit out of there and test it out. So PC1 should be able to telnet into R2 as well as ping it. So we're going to do that. Ping 10.0.0.2. All right, we're getting a reply there. And then let's try to telnet 10.0.0.2. And it's asking us for a password, which is a good sign. And we're in there. So we can telnet from PC1 to R2, and hopefully PC2 and PC3 will not. Let's try this out. Telnet 10.0.0.2. That should time out, as well as this. No doubt in my mind. All right. So we'll give that a shot. Yeah, connection timed out. Can PC2 still ping it though, which it should be able to. As you can see, it can still do that. We still have our standard ACL in place for the PC3 traffic, so we're not going to test that ping out. We already know it will not work. Okay, so we have that configured with the extended ACL as well. Lastly, I want to show you how to do a extended name ACL. The command is a little different. So let's take that off of our interfaces, that extended ACL, and then create a named one with pretty much the same exact rules. We'll do no IP access group 100 in. Okay, so that ACL is removed. Let's move on to this extended name ACL. All right, so for the extended named ACLs, instead of just access dash list, we're doing an IP access dash list and then extended. And then from here, it knows this is going to be a named ACL, so you can just type the name. We'll just do R1 telnet for this. And actually, we should do PC1. It doesn't really matter, but we're just going with the flow here. Okay, so we have our named ACL set up. And then what's cool about this is that, like I said, you can just type in, you know, like the permit TCP, and that you don't have to type in the access list command over and over again each time. So we're going to do that with this. And host 10.0.0.2. Okay. And then equal that to the port number 23. So that's in there. And then what's cool also about this is that you can specify priority. So ACL does it in like increments of 10. So the priority for this one is 10. This next one, that unless I specify, it's going to be 20. But we can say we want it to be a higher priority. So let's just make it 15. So you start off with the priority, and then you do the rule. So deny TCP, and then the 10.0.1.0 network, wildcard mask, and then the host 10.0.0.2 equals 23. So we'll do that, and let's just finish up the other rules here. 10.0.2.0. Whoops. Got a little ahead of myself there. And then the permit IP any command to permit the rest of that traffic. Okay. So this is the same ruling as our extended ACL that we made earlier, but we're going to apply it to the same interfaces and see if we get the same result. forgot the range part. There we go. IP access group, and then you're gonna type the name of the ACL. Oops, and then in. Okay, so we got that configured. Let's just do a copy, run start. I'll sake of habit, and let's see if we get the same results here. So we're gonna telnet into R2. 10.0. Okay. Getting the password again. Great sign. I'm also typing in the password wrong. There we go. Let's try this again. All right, cool. We're in that. We can still ping it. Okay, that's good. And then these two should definitely not be able to telnet into it. Yeah, so that one's gonna time out, and so is this one. Can it still ping PC3 though? Yes. Okay, so our ACL is in place with the name, and yeah, that's how you configure all three different types. Thanks for stopping by.